Welcome to Body by Design. I'm your host, Blue Driver, a women's strength training and metabolism coach. I went from years suffering hormone imbalances, looking soft and bloated, to symptom-free and building muscle for a toned athletic physique. Since then, I've made it my mission to empower women to take control of their own health, hormones and body composition. So grab a cup of coffee and let's build your body by design. Clients come into my coaching container that have got really specific body composition goals. One of their biggest challenges is, how do they still be social? How do they still go out and enjoy a meal with family and friends or celebrations without actually sacrificing all the hard work that they've been doing with macro tracking? Because as we know, if you want some really specific body composition goals, you've got to get really specific and consistent with your macro tracking. That's one element of it. So how do they do this? Given this is one of the bigger challenges of my clients, I thought I'd put together a podcast with some real simple tips and tricks of what you can take away and utilize in your own body composition journey. No matter whether you're on a cut, whether you're at recomp, or whether you're building, all these strategies can apply to you. Now, I think one of the biggest challenges is these days, we're in a society where everything is supersized. You go through, not that I'm into takeaway or anything, but you take takeaway as an example. You go through the drive-through and they're always promoting the upsize, which is like the larger meal. You go out to a lot of just middle of the line restaurants, and what you're getting on your plate is huge. Even when I'm on a build, I look at the amount of food on that plate and I just go, whoa, I'd actually rather eat, a smaller main meal and have a small dessert than eat one of these massive meals. But it's just where our society is now, that everything is supersized. So if we can recognize that, I think that that's a great starting point, and rewiring our thinking that eating out doesn't mean we have to overindulge. We don't have to eat like it's the only time we're ever going to go out and enjoy these good foods. If you can learn to manage eating out within your macros, it actually doesn't become that big a deal, and you don't feel like it's a special treat and you get to overindulge every time. So part of it is rewiring your thinking and recognizing that just because society is supersizing everything, that we don't have to participate in that, but you still can go and be and enjoy. While you're working towards specific body composition goals, there does need to be some sort of compromise and conscious choice when we go out. And it does get easier when you reach the place where you want to be, where you've built a fair bit of muscle, you've got a higher metabolism that allows you to eat more calories. You're not always in a deficit, so you're at maintenance or a little bit more while you're building. That certainly does give you more flexibility, because the more we eat out, the more inaccurate and inconsistent our tracking is going to be. There's certainly strategies that I'm going to give you today that can get you as close as possible, but the reality is that the more you go down this path, the more unknowns and guesstimation there is. So you do want to be in a place where you're not going out every weekend, but certainly when you're in a place of maintenance and already have great muscle build and you're lean where you want to be, it is certainly easier to have some of that flex. But in the meantime, while you're trying to get there, there is some compromise. But again, it doesn't mean you have to miss out. So when you're eating out, the best thing to do, and my number one tip, is plan ahead. Now, I understand that this doesn't always happen, and there's certainly other tips I've got here that you can utilize within a situation that comes up where you didn't get time to plan ahead. But where possible, plan ahead. So if you know you're going out, jump online and get a copy of the menu, or ring them up and ask them to email you one. Find out what's on the menu, and you can plan ahead what you're actually going to choose and what fits in with your macros. It gives you an opportunity to play with it in your macro tracker to see what you can eat. So, the other thing that you can also do is when you're planning ahead is for that week, if you or few days beforehand, you can shave a little bit of calories off each day without starving yourself, without putting your body into a place of stress, without being in a deficit necessarily. You can collect some of your calories and allocate it to a meal if it's a place where it's a little bit harder, or a situation where it's a little bit harder to manage the calories. So the choices on the menu might be all very high caloric choices, creamy sauces, all those sorts of things, and you don't have anything a little bit simpler to choose from. So that is one strategy, that when you plan ahead and you get to see the menu, you can actually make choices of, can I fit this into my normal dinner macros if it's dinner, or do I need to collect a few macros through the day or through the week to fit my calories? We certainly don't want you getting to, on the day, scalping all your calories and missing meals and going into a meal hungry. Please don't ever do that. Don't ever go out hungry, because you will overindulge. Eat your normal food. You may reduce it by a little bit and still be okay, but make sure you eat all your normal meals through the day and go with a normal appetite into the dinner. And it allows you to control that urge to overindulge with everything around you. The next tip would be, I always add 10 grams of fat. So whatever I plug into my tracking app to go, yeah, I'm going to have a steak, I'm going to have some baked potato, I'm going to have a Coke with dinner. I plug all that in, and then I will always add 10 grams of fat, because when you go out to dinner, they aren't as conscious with cooking with oil. So certainly at home, I'm using ceramic pans that don't stick. I'm using spray oils, so I spray coconut oil if I need to. So it's very, very small amounts of fat, whereas that's not how they're going to cook in a restaurant. So things are always going to have a higher level of fat. So I always just plug in an extra 10 grams of fat to add those calories, just to give me a little bit of buffer, because you can guarantee that though you might put potatoes in, they're going to come out with butter in them, or the steak's going to be, covered in oil and seasoning before they grill it. So there's some added fat there. Whatever it is, adding that 10 grams certainly gives you that buffer. I think also picking really simple meals. So when you're being really specific, pick simple meals where the macros are very definable. So when they come out on your plate, you know what you're eating. For example, you might get a steak and potato with a salad on the side and a glass of juice. So you can clearly see your steak is your protein, your potatoes is your carbohydrates, and then obviously you've allowed for some fat already. So if there's some butter on the potatoes, you may also want to plug in a gravy or something. If you know that you're having a steak with a mushroom gravy, you could plug in a little bit amount of gravy for it as well. So just picking those meals that have got their macros separate. Grilled fish, some sort of chicken dish, things like that are much easier to manage than they are all-in-one meals. Some safer all-in-one meals would be, say you had a tomato-based pasta. I wouldn't go creamy pastas. You'll blow out on fats and calories overall really quickly. But if you selected a pasta, obviously that's going to be a lot easier to manage. You can see the pasta that's there, so you know about how much pasta you would be eating. You can guesstimate about how much, I don't know, say there's chicken in it, and then you can just add a general passata sauce as the tomato-based sauce on it. So that's another way of actually managing it a little bit easier. Always ask for your dressings and sauces on the side, so it allows you to control how much that you put on it. So if there is a salad there that you're having, you might want the dressing in the side, so you can choose whether to put that on or not. You might ask, there might be a baked potato, ask for the sour cream on the side. You can ask for your mushroom gravy with your steak to be on the side, and it allows you to put on however much you want at the time. And my last big tip is You don't have to eat everything on your plate. Going back to that supersize thing, most restaurants will tell you, if you pick a steak, most restaurants will tell you how many grams it is, and it'll range between the 300 gram range. So if you pick a 250 gram steak and you really only need 125 grams of protein, 125 grams of meat source for your protein, you'll get the steak. Just eat half the steak. Potatoes that come out, you're going to find there's going to be around 200 grams of potato in a serve as well. And you might really only be on 100 grams of potato, or you'd prefer to have a Coke with your dinner as well. So eat half the potato. And the beauty is, you can always ask to take the leftovers home for you. And that's a second meal that you can have for lunch the next day. So getting back to that, everything's supersized and we don't have to overindulge. Part of that is you do not have to eat everything on your plate just because it's there. So just to recap quickly on those tips that I've given today is planning ahead, get the menu, work out whether you're shaving macros or whether you're fitting it into your day, decide what you want in advance so you can just simply order and move on and not be distracted. Second is allow that extra 10 grams of fat so you're covered with your calories and you're not shorting what you're actually eating, because we know they are heavy in fats when they cook. Pick your simple meals that have got your proteins and your carbs separately so you can control and visually see how much you're eating. Have your dressings and sauces on the side, again, so you can control what you're eating. And the last one, again, don't have to eat everything on your plate. Take it home in a doggy bag and have it for lunch the next day. So this is a nice, quick and easy podcast for us today. I hope this clarifies eating out and how it can actually be done while you still achieve your goals. And if you found any of these helpful, please take a screenshot, share it on Instagram, and tag me at strengthtraining.nutritionist. And I always love a chat, so feel free to drop any questions into my DMs and I'll get back to you. Until next time, keep lifting like the badass woman you are.